2019 marks the 50th anniversary of School's Challenge Quiz. The school which made history by winning that first year, 1969, was St. Hugh's High School for Girls. Today's guest was team member and captain. Whether it was observing cows as a child or using figures to calculate risks, as a professional, my guest leaves nothing to chance. Catherine Lynn has practiced in the actuarial consulting field for over 40 years, working in England, Jamaica, and Canada. She is respected internationally. Yes, there's a love for actuarial science, but she's also passionate about the elderly and trees. Good evening. This is Profile. I am Faye Ellington. Maybe you've worked with her, perhaps you attended school with her, but did you know that her parents are both from St. Elizabeth, one from Magotty and the other from Springfield? Catherine Lynn, so good to have you seated here.
Delighted to be here, Faye. Thank you.
My pleasure. How did your parents meet?
I think the families were friends, and therefore with gatherings for various occasions and events, besides also being in St. Elizabeth, there would have been common experiences. The Chenseys were known to be from Springfield, and the Lynns from Magotty, Ladenquis from Newmarket, and other families from Black River, Savlamar, and Mandeville. And there were the Youngs in Maypen. So everybody knew where the different families were from, and therefore I still say, I'm a Lynn from Magotty for people to place me.
Well, you are indeed. You moved around quite a bit as a youngster, as a child.
Yes, my father came back from MIT, having got his master's in chemical engineering. At the time, there was no university in Jamaica, and I remember him telling me that he took a seaplane from Palisadoes.
And for those who don't know, a seaplane is a plane that can land on sea but also on land. At some point, you can configure to do that. I saw seaplanes out where the cement companies when I first came to Kingston.
That was, I think, where he departed and arrived in Jamaica. So he first went to Louisiana State University to do chemical engineering. At the time when he chose to do that, his brother said to him, "You can have money to set up a business, or you can have money to go to university." And he chose university, and he ended up being the poorest of all brothers.
So he came back to Jamaica.
Yes, and there wasn't any industry. So then he got work with the sugar industry, and then with Alcan when they started the Kirkvine operation in 1957. So before Alcan, it was Sir Island Sugar Estate where I have my first memories as a child. And I remember walking along the river, and I also remember eating sweet cup, picking it wild by the river with my aunt. And I had an imaginary friend, Doris, because I was an only child.
At that time?
Yes.
The first one, yeah.
And I remember getting together with Doris one afternoon and mixing a whole box of Tide in the bathtub. So my mother found suds all over the place. I don't remember anything else.
But let me see, you went to school in Mandeville, you went to school in Newarton, you went to school in Kingston, all before you went to high school. How did that affect you as a child? Well, Doris was there to keep you company, your imaginary friend.
Yes. My first school was Brampton on New Green Road in Mandeville, and I was always used to being with my mother. So every morning my tummy would ache me because I didn't want to go. So Mommy would threaten me and say, "Mabel from the school is coming to get you." This school was run by some old ladies who had a prominent boarding school before, and they kept us 10 children on, or admitted 10 children on, just to keep themselves busy. And I was one of them. They were Miss Maggie, Miss Isabel, Miss Davidson, and Miss Dredge.
You have a great memory. You have a great memory.
I actually have met a couple of people recently who went to that school, and they were fascinated that I went there too. But of course, I went in the twilight years.
So that would have been when your father was working with Alcon.
Yes.
But then you moved to Yorkton.
Yorkton. He was transferred to the Yorkton plant. And at that time, I was too little to realize that Jamaica produced 25% of the world's consumption of alumina. So can you imagine being a chemical engineer in a plant like that? It was producing a phenomenal amount of alumina, and we had to keep, and he would have to keep it going. So I met recently another scientist who worked with Daddy, and he told me that because of Daddy's research, they, in the dirt and how it operated or reacted to the reagents and the process, Daddy worked out which dirt was handled the best, the plant could handle the best, and that in itself dictated how they mined the bauxite. Yes.
Tell me about your school when you were at Yorkton, because you didn't go to public school at Yorkton.
That's right. I was schooled privately by Ina Bewley on a dairy farm, and the school first started with myself and Diana, her granddaughter. Ina and Charlie Bewley were also contract farmers for Jamaica broilers. So I got exposed to the rearing of cows and chickens at a very early age, in addition to learning the academic subjects.
And cows seem to have made quite an impact on you.
Yes. I do know from that time that a cow needs 1 acre of land.
From
to feed,
that young?
To feed,
you might have been 6 or thereabouts.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Because it was between 6 and 8.5 when I came to Kingston, and that was quite a disruption because it meant leaving home. And I went to Westbrook Preparatory School on Halfway Tree Road.
Nobody has a clue where that is, so you better just put it together for us.
It's opposite Holy Childhood, and it backs onto St. Andrew High School. And Miss Butler handpicked the students that she took into the school.
Was it a boarding school, Westbrook?
No, it wasn't.
No?
It was a very small school, maybe 20 children to a class, and Miss Butler accepted children from kindergarten right up to common entrance.
When did your love for mathematics start?
I think I was always fairly good at the subject and didn't find it difficult. Besides,
Well, those of us who attended school with you know that you didn't find it difficult.
I'm lucky, really fortunate.
But
and it's
is
the
there
same
any
with
teacher who
actuarial
nurtured
science.
it?
I think each teacher was good, and and they took me along the path, the whole journey through school in mathematics. But I think it was internal.
You
And
left
also my father was actually very good at maths. In fact, he could get the answer in the next line, and I would always have to figure out all the lines in between.
You went to St. Hugh's from Westbrook.
Yes, from Westbrook I took the common entrance, and I got a government scholarship and joined St. Hugh's in first form when Mrs. Carnegie was headmistress. And there I remember Annie Rose Kitchen being my first form prefect and lining up to go to hall in the morning for prayers. Joy Simons played the piano, and Miss McCormack, the music teacher, took over when the music was harder. And that was where the love of science flourished. We had Miss Hanlon for chemistry, Miss Babington for physics, Mrs. Gibson for biology, and that was the era when man set foot on the moon.
And that was when Catherine Lynn won all the science prizes from first form right through. You don't have to say it, we'll say it for you. At the end of fifth form, you started lower sixth at St. Hugh's.
That's right. But St. Hugh's lost the science teachers, and that forced me to change schools and go to St. Andrew. Faye Saunders was then headmistress of St. Andrew.
Because she used to teach math at St. Hugh's,
That's right. And I remember when all of us failed at maths. And she looked at
you?
us. Yes.
No, man, you never
the
failed
whole
that thing
form.
at St. Hugh's.
Mrs. Saunders was so distressed. She said, you know, I wonder if this is going to make me give up teaching. Well, she did. She became headmistress of St. Andrew. And after that, she became senator. So,
At St. Andrew, you got back the science teachers that you needed and the math
Yes.
teachers, and you got a very special scholarship to take you to the University of the West Indies. What was that?
that's right. The centenary scholarship.
Who gets that? What do you have to accomplish or achieve for
grades in A levels. So the best grades gets a Jamaica scholarship, and then the centenary is the next one down.
that? Could we take a break? Sorry to interrupt you. Catherine Lynn is my guest, actuary, and we're just talking about her the early years. When we come back, we'll go to the University of the West Indies. And what does doing a special degree in math mean? We'll find out.